The race starts right near Battery Park and quickly heads left on Pearl Street. This race will be celebrating its 25th year anniversary in 2013. This marathon is one of the top marathons in New England. There are close to 8,000 runners every year coming to Burlington to either compete in the marathon or in the marathon relay. Now, when you think of Vermont, typically you think of hilly terrain, and this course does have some rolling hills and one really tough hill, but for the most part there are just small rolling hills and a lot of flat sections on this marathon course. It's definitely a very fair course where you can get a good time. Now, the beginning part of this race loops around Burlington before heading out on an out and back section on a highway, which is closed for the race, and then returns to Burlington before heading to the outskirts of town and more towards South Burlington. It's a good start to the race with a flat start and then just this slight gradual uphill on South Willard before you go into a nice gradual downhill. So it gives you a chance to warm up your legs. Really nice downhill here at about the 1.5 mile mark. As you're coming down this hill, you're going to take a sharp right onto Beach Street, and then it's going to be a really steep downhill, but it's short, and then you can take a hard right back onto South Union Street. Once you're on South Union, we're actually going to be heading back towards the center of Burlington. Now, this race is usually held on Memorial Day weekend, so it's a good opportunity to have a nice long weekend in the beautiful town of Burlington and compete in a top-notch marathon. Now, running the marathon is also a very good opportunity to see the city, as we're going to go to many sections of Burlington and we're going to see all that the city has to offer, from the downtown section to the bike trails to the different neighborhoods that surround the city. Now, as you take this right on Church Street, if you're one of the slower racers, make sure you keep your eyes up and watch out for the lead wheelchairs coming towards you. If you stay to the right as you run on Church Street, you'll be fine. The Burlington City Hall is on our left side here. It's a brick street. It's a 1/4 mile long. It's slightly uphill in this direction. Now, there are no vehicles, even though you can see one. There are no vehicle traffic, only deliveries, and no bicycle riding on this street. So I'm just giving you some views of the street with limited traffic. But we're going to go up this street. Again, it's a 1/4 mile long. This is the Church Street Marketplace, and you should definitely visit Church Street when you're in town to do the race. Great shops and restaurants all up and down Church Street. As we take a left on Cherry, we're going to take a quick right on St. Paul as we leave the downtown section. Now, as we take this left on Pearl Street, you can see Lake Champlain in the distance. Beautiful views of the Adirondack Mountains. We get towards the end of Pearl Street, we're actually going to take a right back on Park Street, and we're going to cross back over the start line of the race. We're going to continue straight. Now, a really cool thing about this race is that we go through many different terrain changes on the course. We go through and different type running conditions. We go from running in downtown to running on Church Street, different neighborhoods, and then this section is the highway. So they're actually going to close down the highway for the race. This is Route 127, or the Northern Connector. And you'll have about 4 miles of running on the connector. So it's slightly uphill in this direction, but you'll have the road to yourself. It's a good chance to settle into a nice pace and just let some of the miles tick by, some of the early miles. Now, the turnaround is actually on the highway, and it's just after mile 6, so keep that in mind. Once you cross mile 6, just a short distance later, you'll be turning around and heading back in the direction you came. Again, the highway is slightly downhill in this direction, heading back towards the center of Burlington. So on this course, you're going to be running on city streets, the highway, a bike trail, small sections of off-road. It's a very interesting course with a lot of different interesting sights along the way. Cross through mile 8. Now as we come to the end of the highway, we're going to continue straight back onto Park Street. And we're just going to go straight through a couple sets of lights. Nice and flat through this section. And we're actually going to go over the start line again with Battery Park again on the right-hand side. And then you're going to retrace your steps and take a left on Pearl Street. But this time we're actually going to take one of the first rights, and we're going to head back towards Church Street. Take a left back on Cherry, and then soon after that we're going to take a right and go back down Church Street, but in the opposite direction. So again, I'm just giving you a view of Church Street, as I was not allowed to drive on Church Street either by bike or by car. But again, Church Street is a must visit if you come to Burlington. It's very popular. This street will often be crowded with visitors going to many shops and restaurants up and down Church Street. Pretty cool place to run. Now the last few miles have been pretty good on this course. You've had a nice downhill coming off the highway, flat Pearl Street, and then a little slight downhill on Church Street. And now as soon as you take this right on Main Street, you're going to have even a steeper downhill. We'll take a quick left on Pine, and this is a really good section of the course. It's almost all downhill or flat for the next few miles. Now this course is nice and flat as we continue down Pine Street. The only word of caution I would say is that there are some tough hills ahead, and you really want to stay within your pace. Enjoy this section of the course, let the miles tick by, and stick with your plan and your pace. You'll be tempted to pick up the pace because it's been a good stretch of time where you haven't really been tested with any tough hills. Now as we take this right on Flynn Avenue, we're actually going to go through a few miles of residential neighborhoods in Burlington. And again, no serious hills in this section of the course. Just continued flat or just slightly rolling hills. Nice little downhill. We're going to go over some railroad tracks. Again, just flat or slightly rolling. We're going to stay to the right here. We have a nice downhill here before we take a left onto South Cove Road. Now this part of the course, we're just going to do a big circle around South Cove Road and head right back to Austin Drive, which is the road we were just on. Again, just a slight incline on this side of the circle, and as we round the top, we're going to have a nice little downhill. Beautiful homes through this section of the course. Lake Champlain is now on your left-hand side. You can see views of it briefly through some of the homes. Now as you get to the end of the road, you're going to take a right back onto Austin Drive. Now as you take this right, you're actually going to have a small little uphill to climb, and then you're going to be taking a left onto the bike path. Now, as you take this left and go through mile 13, the next several miles of this course are actually going to be on the Island Line Bike Trail. Beautiful place to run, and nice and flat. So you're just going to continue straight and run right through this parking lot and continue on the bike trail on the other side of this parking lot. Be sure to watch part 2, which is miles 13 through 26 on the next video. Thank you for viewing the race at viewtherace.com.